It's now time for something completely different, as they say. My name is Alex Stein. This is called Rock and Roll Manifesto. She stood before me holding a record in her hand, a record that was long out of print, but one I loved and had spent years looking for. And this is back when it meant something to search for music, back when record companies would let records go out of print and you could only find them used. Hell, this is back when there were record companies and records. And she told me that she found this particular copy of this record at the Goodwill store by her parents' house. And then she added, "Oh, and I don't love you anymore." I know, years later, it's the "oh" that seems weird to me. I said nothing for a really long time. And finally, she touched my arm and said, "What are you thinking right now?" And I said this: I believe in guitars and guitarists. I believe in drums, but not in drummers. I believe in bass and keyboards, but I don't understand them. I believe in punk poetry and the rhyming couplet, in power chords and choruses that are so catchy that you have to listen to them 17 times in a row rather than leaving your house. I believe in the long, slow fade and the fake ending and syncopated polyrhythms that leave you slightly off balance. I believe in speaker wire and big belt drive turntables and large, heavy, wooden crates of records that you drag from crappy apartment to crappy apartment, even when you leave your furniture and the dishes behind. I believe there are some songs so perfectly formed that they must have come down directly from the gods, from some mystical Valhalla where there was one perfect note as yet unheard on this earth that instantly makes grown men cry. I believe there are some lyrics that are so profound that the first time you hear them, they change you forever. And that the line, "The car we bought together just started to rust," is the saddest opening line in rock and roll. But the line, "I hate the asshole I become every time I'm with you," might just be the truest. I believe it doesn't matter who you love or who you fuck, but you never forget the music that was playing when you lost your virginity. And there is something very wrong if there was no music playing when you lost your virginity. I believe in the Clash and Buddy Holly and the Everly Brothers and John Lennon and the Ramones and Squeeze and Jane Siberry. I believe that Mama Cass Elliot invented Crosby, Stills, and Nash. That's true, you can look it up. But Neil Young invented himself, and he would give it all up tomorrow if he could just sing like Smokey Robinson. I believe that Lou Reed was right when he heard that New York station and he thought his life was saved by rock and roll, and that must have been terribly frustrating for John Cale, who was classically trained and composed symphonies and played the viola, I mean the fucking viola, to be in a band with Lou Reed, who once said that anyone who writes a song with more than 2 chords in it is just showing off. I believe that Paul McCartney is so supremely talented that even his farts come out gorgeous and melodic. And yet, there is a special circle in hell where the song "Wonderful Christmas Time" plays over and over on an endless loop as punishment for the worst sins you can imagine. But most of all, I believe you do not deserve this record. You haven't put in the time. You never suffered for it. And besides, I'm the one who taught you about this record, and I hunted it down in used record stores in 5 different states. This record just fell into your lap. Oh, I believe you when you tell me that you don't love me anymore. But I don't believe that you love this record because you haven't put in the time. You never really loved this tragic band whose leader killed himself, leaving behind a letter that said that their manager, who embezzled millions, was a soulless bastard. That same band, whose second most important songwriter killed himself a few years later, leaving a note for the lead guitarist that just read, "You're next." I don't believe that you deserve this record because you haven't suffered for it. And I believe that's my fault because I made things too easy for you. I taught you the ways of my people, the obsessive music fans, and I brought you to our most sacred places. I took you to that used record store in the lesbian college town next to the vegan restaurant where they sold the import version of that XTC double album for a loss because they hated how the American record company cut 5 songs and rearranged the order just to make it fit on one disc. I now know that it was a mistake to play for you the music I love and tell you the stories of these bands and explain why every song was important, and there was always a reason. It was never just, I liked it, because I really listened, I really cared, not like you. And that is why the hollow husk that would have held your soul if you only had one will dry up and blow away, and no one will mourn you and no one will remember. And then she said nothing for a while. And finally, she pushed the record back to me and she said, "You're right. I don't deserve this." And I pushed it back to her and I said, "Listen, someday when you need rock and roll to save you on that dark night of your soul, you're going to be fucked if all you have to protect you is Christopher Cross or Huey Lewis in the news." And she took the record and she went off. And by the way, I have to say, my slightly more evolved version of me right now needs to tell you that if you love Christopher Cross or Huey Lewis in the news, I will never understand this. But I will try to find a way to be okay with it. All these years later, my friends who were even more into music than I was, they don't listen to records anymore. They tell me it's because they have careers and families. And okay, there's a few things in my life too that are more important. But still, on nights like this, when I'm driving home with the window down and the radio up really loud, when the right song comes on, I'll punch the gas, drive a little faster. I know, it's silly, it's childish. I should have been over this years ago, but here's the thing. I still believe, and I still find myself in the few used record stores that remain open, going through each and every one of those bins. Only now I can't tell you if what I'm really looking for is another copy of that record, or just the girl who deserves it. Thank you very much. My name is Howland.